and welcome to the Empower Yourself Summit. My name is Pamela McAlexander, and I will be your host. Today, I have a wonderful speaker with me today, a little bit different from what you guys have all had me going through and interviewing, so this will be a treat. His name is Mike Adams. He is the founder and editor of naturalnews.com. He is a research scientist who heads up the Natural News Forensic Food Lab in the Austin, Texas area. As a courageous, outspoken crusader for safe, healthy food, he has achieved international acclaim as the Health Ranger. Mike has been a highly effective whistleblower whose research has revealed heavy metals contamination such as lead, cadmium, and tungsten in popular rice protein powders, lead and cadmium in cacao superfoods, high mercury and lead in both cat and dog treats, lead in ginkgo herbs, as well validation of the absence of heavy metals in fresh produce grown in the U.S. He is the inventor of cesium eliminator and heavy metals defense. He has shared the lab data from his research with the Department of Justice and exposed fake acai berry supplements, which helped support FTC prosecution of 3 individuals for marketing fraud. In the spring of this year, Adams appeared on the Dr. Oz show, sounding the alarm about heavy metal contamination in the food supply, including organic foods. As Dr. Oz pointed out, Mike is doing the work that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration should be doing, but is not. Mike Adams is not afraid to take on controversy, buck conventional medical wisdom, nor lead a revolution when it comes to your health. As Dr. Oz put it on air, Adams has been dubbed the Ralph Nader of consumer health. So I bring to you the Health Ranger, Mr. Mike Adams.
Hi, Pamela. Thank you for the invitation. And you didn't have to go into all that detail in the intro, but yeah, we definitely stay busy here at Natural News. And my passion is safe, healthy food, natural cures, and empowering people with information that they need to protect their health and live long, happy lives free of pharmaceuticals and free of cancer and just with good cognitive function too, so they can enjoy life.
Well, then we really appreciate what it is that you do for all of us and the investigative efforts that you put forth to finding out this kind of stuff. Otherwise, how would we ever know any of this?
I know a lot of what we publish, we're the only source for it. Much of what's in the conventional media these days is really not blowing the whistle on these issues that are so important for humanity. So I'm really honored to be here to discuss some of these important ideas with you and your audience.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so as you know, this is an Empower Yourself Summit, and we are teaching people a lot of things about themselves and how to move forward in their lives. And where we've started every one of our interviews has just been, if you wouldn't mind being vulnerable with me for a moment and sharing one of your struggle stories with us, something where you really went through a difficult period in your life, what you experienced, how you got through it, to leading the life that you're living right now, which is obviously doing something you really enjoy doing.
Well, sure. I'm happy to share this with you and your audience. And in fact, I've been very public about this. When I went to school and got a degree as a technical writer, and founded a software company in the 1990s. I was in the technology industry. By the time I was about age 30, I had launched my own software company and grown that to be, quote, successful from a financial standpoint, but my health was in very poor shape. I was borderline diabetic. I was obese. I suffered from chronic pain. I had high cholesterol. I had relatively poor cognitive function and hypoglycemia as well, you know, where your blood sugar goes crazy a couple hours after eating breakfast. And I knew that something was wrong. Obviously, I was like, I'm only 30. That seems pretty young to be having these problems. And if I stay on this path, I will probably end up in a hospital or on diabetes medications or amputating a leg or something. And who knows? Mm-hmm. So I took that step of personal empowerment that we both know is crucial. There's that moment in everyone's life when they say, you know, enough is enough. I'm going to seize control over my own life and make some changes for me to do what I need to be healthy, to be happy, to maybe to find a healthy, happy relationship, or to find a healthy job or a career path that I can pursue, whatever the case may be. I made that decision. I had that aha awakening moment around age 30. So for me, it was then learning about nutrition, learning about sugar was the first thing I really studied, and making changes based on that knowledge in my own diet, and then starting to see remarkable results. And so there was a period of time during which I really just eliminated all the toxic foods out of my diet, which no one had told me were toxic before. But now a lot more people know because it's more common knowledge. But at the time, who knew that, for example, bacon or beef jerky is made with nitrates that cause cancer and that actually attack the pancreas and can lead to diabetes. No one told me that. So I didn't know. Who knew that aspartame was an artificial chemical sweetener made from the bio waste of genetically altered bacteria? No one told me. Who knew that MSG is an excitotoxin that kills nerve cells by overexciting them to death in your own body? Or who knew that white rice was so, or that white sugar, refined sugars were so bad for you, or that soda could cause obesity and diabetes? So as I began to make these changes, I had a remarkable transformation. I dropped over 50 pounds or around 50 pounds of body fat just in one summer. My hypoglycemia, diabetes symptoms disappeared, just vanished, and they've never come back. My athletic performance skyrocketed as I slimmed down. Even in my 30s, I was able to take on gymnastics and martial arts and Krav Maga and MMA training and just all these things that normally like 20-year-olds do. I had missed out on that, so I did it in my 30s. I don't do it anymore because I'm too busy for all that. But at the time, I was really, really active in gymnastics. But most importantly, I noticed my moods really stabilized. I became more optimistic about the long-term outlook on life, but also more awakened to the challenges that humanity is facing right now. So I was able to tune in. I was able to expand my cognition. I was able to learn languages very, very quickly. I now speak Mandarin Chinese at a conversational level. I learned Spanish very quickly when I lived in South America and was able to converse, conversationally in Spanish. And it came to me so easily after changing my diet and eating superfoods and getting rid of the toxins. And then the other thing was the ability to learn new academic subjects really vastly increased as well. I realized that my old diet had been harming my brain, my learning capabilities. Once I got onto this superfoods approach and what you might call an organic, non-GMO diet, I was able to learn things very quickly, which is how I now learned high-level analytical chemistry and learned to run the atomic spectroscopy laboratory using ICP-MS instrumentation. Normally, that's doctorate-level material at a university. I learned that in roughly half a year with high-level chemists, consultants who taught me those things. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn at all, because my message is that you are a genius too. You, whoever's watching this, you have innate genius capabilities, possibly untapped, possibly partially tapped in your own brain. You have an amazing immune system that can heal you, that can halt cancer. You have a blueprint for perfect health in your DNA. That blueprint is either suppressed or activated depending on what you eat and what you put into your body. And that's my core message. If you want to live a life of disease and mood disorders and depression, eat processed foods, eat food additives, eat artificial colors. It's easy. If you want to live a life, on the other hand, where you are awakening your inner genius, where you are experiencing the greatest potential of who you are as a human being, as a conscious human being with a soul that's part of your experience, then you have to change your diet, get away from the poisons, and start looking at the foods that support your body's innate genius and innate healing potential. And that's what I teach people at Natural News.
I have to tell you, I really love this message, Mike, because, so many people, when they think along the lines of making changes in their life, they think they need to change their attitude or they need to change who their relationships are with or their job. And it really is as simple as starting with the basics of what we ingest.
It's so crucial because food, if you think about it, your blood is made of what you eat. Your blood is remanufactured every day in your bones. In the bones in your pelvis, for example. They make new blood every day, and they make it out of the foods that you eat and the beverages that you drink. So your blood becomes what you ate. Your blood then brings nutrients and building blocks to every other organ and tissue and cell in your body, including your brain. So your brain is running on the blood that's made of the food you ate. Well, if you eat junk food, you're going to have junk moods, or you'll have junk thoughts or junk performance. Like you wouldn't put low-grade gasoline in your car and expect it to perform well. Same thing's true in the human body. And, I've explored many, many realms of holistic healing, from Reiki to acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine, and meditation. And I remember having a friendly but intense debate with a meditation master a few years ago who was someone who would eat a lot of junk food and then I guess I shouldn't say meditation master, meditation student, but they would eat a lot of junk food, and then they would do meditation to try to solve the problems they were having with their moods and their outlook on life. And they took the view that your mind can change anything. You create your own reality, which at some level is absolutely true. But wouldn't it work better if you first get healthy blood, clean up your diet, clear your mind, so that you can then have the proper physical platform from which to pursue meditation. And if you look at all of the spiritual gurus in history, almost all of them, who have been worshipped or written about or documented, mostly they went out into nature and they ate plant roots, and they had a vegetarian diet, or they did colon cleansing in the Bible, for example. They did a purification process to clear their body, to prepare their minds for that meditation. And that is the missing link to so much of the spiritual practice that we have today. You can't eat junk and be spiritually awakened at the same time.
I fully agree with you. I love that. Now, tell me about these superfoods. Can you give me some description of what they are so people can kind of relate? I mean, yes, there's a lot in the news about, GMOs and organic, but even you have found things with regards to organic foods where they don't contain what they should contain.
It's a complex subject. I'll try to break it down here. The simple rule of thumb, if you want to have clean foods that deliver as many nutrients as possible, the simple rule of thumb is buy and juice fresh organic produce. I've done all the lab tests on fresh organic produce, and the juice made from it, it's very, very clean of heavy metals and pesticides, obviously. Where you get into trouble with these organics or superfoods is when you start buying products that are imported from China. We have found that China is a very, very polluted country, and yet farms in China are routinely certified as organic by the USDA, even though the USDA doesn't inspect them. The organic certification only means that they aren't applying pesticides to the farms. It doesn't mean that the farm isn't right next door to a toxic metal foundry or a mercury implant manufacturer that is dumping this stuff into the environment and falling onto the farm. That can still be certified organic. In fact, in China, the rivers are so polluted that you can't swim in them without literally becoming sick. And those rivers can be used to irrigate organic farms, putting heavy metals such as cadmium, lead, arsenic, mercury, even tungsten onto the crops that get taken up by the plants. So we found an alarming trend of heavy metals contamination in superfoods that are certified organic that are imported from China. Meanwhile, the same thing grown in the United States or grown in Canada or grown in Europe is very, very clean. For example, we found over 500 parts per billion of lead in rice protein from China sold under a U.S. brand. But when we tested rice grown in California, just regular rice from the Lundberg family, it was almost zero lead. So these are some. It's important to think about where is your superfood coming from. People are into cacao and chlorella and camu camu, mangosteen powders, all kinds of things. They all have extraordinary benefits, but you need to know where they come from so that you can know whether or not they are contaminated with heavy metals. And the reason heavy metals matter is because lead interferes with brain function. Mercury causes nervous system damage. Cadmium changes your personality. It causes a hardening of the arteries. It causes kidney damage, skin damage, but it also hardens and closes your heart from a spiritual perspective. Each of these heavy metals is a poison in a different way, and they can seriously harm your efforts to improve the quality of your life if you take in too many of them.
Wow, that is really interesting to know. And, why is it that the stuff that's really healthy for you at the grocery store costs way more than regular food, junk food? It's like they don't want you to buy this because they make it so expensive.
Well, that's true, but one of the strategies that really does work is if you can find a way to buy organic food in bulk, large quantities, you can make it cheaper than processed conventional food. Because conventional food has a very high markup. These processed foods, they're very profitable for corporations to offer and for grocery stores to sell, and that's why they dominate the marketplace, because they make money. But the very cleanest food that you can eat is food that you grow yourself. And the best system for growing your own food, by the way, is either hydroponics or aquaponics, which is more complex and uses fish at the same time. But hydroponics is pretty straightforward. And because you can control the water inputs and you're not even using soil, and you can control the fertilizers that go into it, you can grow extremely pristine food in a hydroponic system that is more and more affordable, believe it or not, Pamela, because grocery stores, you've been out shopping recently, food is skyrocketing in price.
Right.
Fresh food, because of these droughts in California, because of crazy weather systems, because of price inflation, rising gas prices, which affect food transportation costs. Food is getting very, very expensive, but growing food yourself at your house almost never gets more expensive. It's about the same effort and cost today as it was 20 years ago. So growing your own food now makes more economic sense as grocery store food prices keep rising. But it also makes sense from a purity and a cleanliness standpoint. The cleanest food you can eat is the food you grow yourself.
Now, how do you do something like that? I mean, I grew up on a farm in Minnesota, so we grew all of our own crops. My mother canned everything. You did not buy this stuff from the grocery store. And, of course, my dad raised cattle and everything else, so our meats were also something that we had full control over when we were younger, growing up. Well, it's much harder now because I don't come from a family of being on a farm, living on a farm. I'm on a piece of property with well and septic, and for as much as I would love to plant and grow and maintain my own garden, can you do that when you're on well and septic? Does that interfere? I don't know these things.
Yeah, it's tricky. Well water tends to be too alkaline, too many dissolved solids to work well for gardening. But you can acidify well water with citric acid or with vinegar, for example, to make it better for plants.
Oh.
You can also use aquaponic systems, again, that circulate the same water over and over again, or hydroponic systems that use only about 1/20th the water of a garden.
Oh.
And this is where the real breakthroughs are. These food technologies use less water. They don't require soil. The LED grow lights, if you want to grow them inside, are more and more affordable. And believe it or not, that whole industry has been really advanced by the indoor marijuana growers, believe it or not. Which I'm not advocating that. I'm saying grow your food, but you will find yourself purchasing grow lights and equipment from the marijuana growing companies that have really brought costs down. So it's kind of interesting. But growing your food outdoors is even less expensive. If you have a little greenhouse structure or just on a balcony, you can get sunlight for free, obviously, and you can grow things there. The key is you don't have to aim for 100% of your diet. Go for 10%. See if you can grow 10% of what you eat. You can start with sprouting. Just get yourself a little sprouting container or a little sprouting machine. You can sprout with a a jar with a sprouting lid.
Mm-hmm.
Just costs a couple of bucks. And you can sprout there. Sprouts could start to make up maybe 2% of your diet, for example. So you can start there. You can start anywhere you want and just expand it as you find enjoyment with it and as you get positive results from it. You know, that's the thing about personal empowerment. It's scary for a lot of people to think about taking big leaps or big risks in their own life. But taking little steps in the right direction can be very rewarding. And it works. Whether you're changing your diet, do it a little bit at a time. Pick one food that you know you shouldn't be eating, get it out of your diet over the next 30 days. Consider that a success, and then pick another food the next month. You don't have to change radically everything overnight. That normally doesn't work because it's hard to stick with. So make these little incremental changes, and that produces the results that will improve your life significantly.
Now, Mike, let me ask you this. When you're in a situation, like I know a lot of people like to take advantage of the local farmers, and instead of, buying from the grocery stores where you have no idea where half this stuff came from, versus, the roadside farmers or the farmers markets that are out there and taking advantage of things like that. That's fine and wonderful when we're dealing in the summer months where it's all available. But when you get up on the winter months, it's so hard. What do you do?
Well, first of all, humanity really should be eating with the seasons. I mean, this is a fundamental truth that everybody's forgotten. Everybody wants to have bananas in January in Chicago. It doesn't work that way. In fact, your ancestors and my ancestors, they were pioneers. They had to eat with the seasons. They had root cellars. You can store potato roots or yam roots or even apples for months at a time in a root cellar that's a low humidity, dark, so you're not getting sunlight in, and it's relatively cool. You need to, really, if you want to be healthy, learn to eat more with the seasons.
Okay.
In the winter, you should be really eating more of the winter crops, more cabbage, for example, the cruciferous vegetables, things that will grow in the winter. In the springtime, your body wants the natural cleansing foods that are grown in the spring, maybe some medicinal herbs or spices. In the summer, you need additional hydration, so you get all these wonderful citrus crops that help hydrate your body with the special water that comes out of citrus, which is different from tap water, right? If you look at the whole year, why do you have tomatoes in the summer? Why do you have green peppers in the summer, not the winter? Because summer is the active time when you are active all day long. Peppers actually boost circulation and boost energy. Where winter is more of a recovery time, a more intimate, inward-looking time, and summer is more of an outward expansion and activity time. The thing about society today is that we've forgotten to live in harmony with nature. All of our lights, our artificial lights, like the ones that are lighting this room up right now, these trick us and they throw us off balance with the sun. We should be waking up with the morning sun and going to bed after sun sets. We shouldn't be staying up all night with artificial lights. That disrupts our hormones, disrupts our moods, causes depression, causes cancer even. If you have lights in your room at night while you're sleeping, it releases cancer-producing hormones in your body that disrupt your endocrine system. So I didn't mean to go into all this detail from your question, but it's an excellent point. We have to learn to live in harmony with the natural world around us, including light, including available foods, seasonal gardening, and the things that are available to you geographically in your region. Someone who lives in Panama is going to have access to a totally different kind of diet than someone who lives in Boston. And as much as possible, you should support your local farmers and eat locally. It's good for lots of reasons, but also for health reasons.
Well, I really appreciate this. You have been a wealth of information because I think this is so key, and this is that aspect, like you said, of our lives where we get so caught up in the busy that the quickie McDonald's drive-through, the quickie, it just people don't sit down and cook meals anymore, and I think you lose so much just. Not only just from a health perspective, but just all the way around, mind, body, spirit, balance perspective, when we do this. If you could give a piece of advice, wisdom, guidance to our listeners today that would help them start this journey, what would it be?
Well, I guess the simplest bit of advice is to realize that no one else has your health in their best interest. understand that you are the only one who is motivated and has an inherent self-interest in your own health. So forget about all these messages from drug companies that say they want you to be healthy. No, they want to sell you drugs. Come on, it's a for-profit corporation. The food companies, they don't necessarily want you to be healthy. They actually want you to buy more food over and over again, more than you probably need, because that makes them money. Think about all the messages that you are told out there from corporate interests that want to profit from your behavior, and realize that that is not your best interest. Your best interest is actually found in doing things that prevent you from being a customer of a hospital, that prevent you from being a lifetime taker of prescription pharmaceuticals, actions that prevent you from overeating foods that are only going to add to your obesity or diabetes or cancer. In fact, this takes a tremendous amount of personal courage to do, and also in face-to-face conversations with a doctor at the doctor's office. Most doctors are caring people. They want to help, but then again, they don't have much time to spend with you. You need to stand up for your interests and say, hey, doctor, you just wrote me that prescription for Xanax. Is there something else I might do instead that might be useful? See what your doctor says. Stand up for yourself, find alternatives, and really work to support your health. That is so crucial, because we live in a society where people have surrendered so much to other authorities around them. They've surrendered responsibility for their health to a doctor, or they've surrendered responsibility for their own moods to a drug company making an antidepressant drug, or they've surrendered their happiness to a TV sitcom series that's their friends that they see on TV, you know. But that's not real. That's not life. You have to take charge of your future, of your interests, in order to be healthy, to put down that cheeseburger, you know, do some healthy juicing, take care of yourself, do some home gardening, do some sprouting, and use that knowledge to be the most empowered and most courageous person that you can be. And remember that you have the potential to do that automatically. You're born with that potential. All you have to do is invoke it. It's that simple.
Awesome. Well, I really want to tell you how much we appreciate you being with us today. And you're a very busy man. So, you know, we do appreciate the time that you took to educate our listeners today. And for everybody who's listening, you will be able to access articles that Mike has written on naturalnews.com. It is a wealth of information out there at your fingertips, and anybody who possesses a computer can access any of that information. Go ahead.
Well, and just to mention, not only do we publish 15 unique articles every day, we also have a massive research database called science.naturalnews.com, where you can search almost any nutrient, any food, any herb, together with any disease you can think of. You can search for turmeric and cancer, or vitamin D and cancer, or, you know, green tea versus weight loss, whatever. We've indexed over 12 million published studies there. It's a wealth of information, one-of-a-kind resource, and it's completely free. So things like that really empower people. I just wanted your readers to know about that free resource.
Wonderful, and we do appreciate that. Mike, again, thank you so much for being with us today and for the information that you have passed on. It is invaluable. Thank you for what you do, because if it wasn't for people like you out there that are looking out for the health and well-being of individuals, we would really be in the dark.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility, but I have a lot of compassion for fellow human beings, and I want to see people do well and not needlessly suffer. But you're part of this too, Pamela, so thank you for what you do, for putting on this event, and I'm just honored to be part of it.
Thank you so much.